Season 8 is especially dedicated to motivate university students and high school students to kind of dive into exploring their passions and learning about their fields of interest. So what was the first thing that caught your eye when you considered joining your profession today?
I always know that I wanted to do art because since I was a child, I loved drawing and painting and, you know, doing all these silly things, the dolls and making doll houses from paper. And then I was studying and training to take the entrance university to the Fine Arts University in Saigon, but I failed that exam. It still hurts.
That's very surprising.
It's very difficult. It was an academic way of learning art, so I didn't suit that way back then, and but I also heard a lot of people fail that exam. It's a highly exclusive institution. It's a very difficult school to get in. So after I failed, that was my biggest failure, the first and biggest failure in early life. After I failed the exam, my mom sent me to the US to study. So in the first 2 years, I was only studying general arts, because back then we didn't have drawing classes like we do now, and there was no you know, YouTube where you can learn by yourself. So when I went to the States and study drawing and painting and sculpture and computer arts for the first 2 years, and then I went on and majored in graphic design. Yeah, so just, you know, being in New York and being a student at the School of Visual Arts in New York was like a dream come true. You know, as a young girl, you know, being in a big city, really, like, you know, everything they said in that song. What's the concrete jungle where dreams are made of. It's true. You know, I heard that song a few years after I graduated. I'm like, that's me.
That's you.
Yeah, that's me. I mean, you know, you're in a big city. The school is just a small factor of the whole inspiration that you got from the city. You know, the museum, the metro station, you know, the people around you, or the artists, or the, you know, basically everyone. You know, just inspire you to be an art person. And after that, you know, after graduating from school, the first few years was difficult because you know, New York was very competitive for me. I was interning at this magazine in New York, and then I joined an ad agency also in New York. It was very difficult, but it was very inspiring at the time too. And then I always felt there was always an inkling in me that told me to follow this whole communication design or media or magazine. I didn't know what it was back then, but you know, so I moved back home to Vietnam, and I worked at an ad agency, and I won an award, and that kind of encouraged me to
spurred you on.
Yeah, it was a big break for me to give me it gave me more confidence, and so I went on, and then I tried a new position at that magazine, and then my life's not the same anymore. Yeah.
So if I may, it feels like your entire journey in art and design, it has been like a very long-lived passion that, you know, was actualized by learning and experience, but it was always within you, and it always was something that you deeply wanted, and that is very deeply inspiring to me, because how often do we pursue something so vigorously, right? I don't think it's something that happens many times in a person's life.
I think for me, it's like I have these images in my mind. Either I have to draw it out, either I have to write about it. Because I heard a really good saying that say, how do you know what you think until you see it? So I'm a visual person. So if I think about something, I have to somehow visualize it or actualize it. For example, when I think about a character in a script, I would do everything to execute, to realize that character. Put her in the right costume, try to experiment with different outfits and makeup and hair. It's the whole process for me. It's the learning and also the enjoying part of it. Sometimes I look at the final products and I may or may not like it, but I love the process. The very difficult and exhausting process of working on it. That's for me, it's not the final product I enjoy, it's the process. And people say trust the process. Yes, trust it, because you learn from it, and that's the whole enjoyment from it. You know, you work with your crew, you discover what everyone is good at, and then together you make something wonderful. And you know, the process, you make friends or enemies from that whole process. So for me, I enjoy it very much. Yeah.
And it's true, you know how people say when you talk about something that you are truly in love with, your eyes light up, and I see that in you. And honestly, I think when dreamers and visualizers, they actualize their vision, the world is all the more richer for it.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for bringing into the world your creative vision and making us see the wonders that you see in your mind.